Fun playing around with this deck. Big thank you, first of all, to Jake Alloway, Jake from State Farm, for recording behind the camera. He is also very much a counter for aficionado, so props to him. And then we'll go ahead and get started here with a deck profile. Sorry about the awkward setup, but we kind of needed to come over to a more quiet location, and this D&D table was the best place, which is a little bit big, so we'll make do with what we have. Monster lineup, free Bountiful Artemis. Pretty much any pure kind of furry build needs to be playing 3. Gets you the most advantage, requires the least amount of setup, so it's what you need to play. Free Ariadne makes your counter traps free. Nothing else to be explained. If it does get popped off, of course, you get to add a counter trap. You know, pick 3, and then your opponent adds a counter trap. Doesn't really come up that often because it's one of those awkward cards that your opponent doesn't like you having on board, but at the same time doesn't want to like destroy, because then they'll be giving you free advantage. So it's kind of one of those weird cards. For the other kind of fairies, we have the 2 Minerva, the 1 Met Leo, and then the 1 Zeratius to search Sanctuary in the Sky. I was previously playing 2 Met Leo, but we cut it down to 1. Which is kind of clogging a bit too much, and it's the one that requires the most setup because it only gets the pop cards when you have Sanctuary in the Sky on board, and the gain of 1,000 life isn't really that good, to be honest. Whereas Minerva, even if you don't have Sanctuary in the Sky, it still gains 500 attack and defense each time a counter trap resolves, so this can get really big really quick. And then if it does have Sanctuary in the Sky, it's what recovers back your counter traps to be able to make sure that you always have counter traps to be able to pop off your effects. So 2 Minerva, 1 Met Leo, 1 Zeratius. It's only a total of 10 monsters because we are playing the Demise version. I feel like it's a pretty decent ratio of monsters. For spells, the 2 Sanctuary in the Sky, and then we're down to the 2 Sanctum of Parshath. Was previously playing 3, but you would clog a lot with multiples in this deck. And do keep in mind, this is a card that does reduce the amount of counter traps you can play by 1, because it takes up one of your main, spell and trap card zones, and then that's one less zone you have to commit to your, counter traps. So that's something to keep in mind. Still is a really good card for the boost, for making your counter traps untargetable and indestructible by effects, and then also the third effect to be able to recover stuff is good. But yeah, I feel like 2 is the right number. So we have a total of 5 Sanctuary in the Skies essentially with these 4 and then the 1 Zeratius. Next, pre-card Demise. Most important and probably the best card in the deck. If this gets ashed, it really sucks, but you need to play this because if you don't have that ideal setup in your opening hand, this is the best card you have to actually get there. If you can draw the full 3 cards and then just get the more counter traps, get to a Bountiful, get to a Minerva, something like that, get to an Ariadne. This is just the card that gives you the best chance of getting there. Next, only the 2 ties. Decided to cut this down to 2. It is a really great card when you can set it up properly with like a Bountiful, plus a Minerva, plus a Met Leo, and then plus like 2 or 3 other counter traps. But it's only really good if you have other good counter traps to back it up. It on its own does not really set you up with those good boards that you want. Demise is a better card at doing that. So I decided to cut it down to 2. Again, was a card that was clogging at multiples. Is a card, of course, that conflicts with Demise and is an easy ash target as well. So I feel like 2 for this version is the right number.
Are those the shiny ones?
They are the ultras.
Yay, shiny things.
2 Pod Desires, just another really good draw card that can go in tandem with either Ties or Demise. And then same with the final spell, the 1 Upstart Goblin. No Monster Reborn. I really wanted to play Monster Reborn in here, but it's really hard to find a room. And it's one of those cards that can be really inconsistent because it doesn't really go into your opening hands turn 1. And you need, granted you can bring back something your opponent has, but it can conflict with Demise. It can just be like a dead inconsistency card. So with this deck, we need as much consistency as we can have as possible. So that's why I don't play it, and instead play the Upstart Goblin. So that's the spells. I believe it's 12 of them. So for counter traps, free Chaos Trap Hole in the main. Trick Stars and Pendulum Magicians are going to be the best decks in this meta. There's also ABCs, there's also True Dracos, so this card will be really good in this meta. That's why I main decking 3. It's also, what it essentially is, it's another card that can actually stop summons. You have a lot of Solemn Judgment cards that can negate spell traps and monster effects, but you don't have a whole lot of cards that actually stop summons, which actually protect your counter fairies on board. So Chaos Trap Hole is another reliable card that does that. It banishes the monster, which is really good. And then of course with Ariadne, you don't pay the life point cost.
It might also be pretty good in a mirror match for this deck, assuming at the regional level you see it.
Yeah. So free drastic drop off. This is basically an upstart goblin when you have Artemis on board. It's a free 500 boost off of Minerva. It's a free pop with Met Leo if you have Sanctuary in the Sky. This is essentially your starter card for counter fairies to get all your effects going. Next, we decided to cut down on the pseudo solemn judgments. We only have the 2 divine punishment, the 2 rebirth of Parshath, and then the 2 ultimate providence. The reason why I cut all these down to 2 is because they all have specific requirements that can at times make them brick and make them hard to activate. So I feel like having 2 of each, and especially now that we have the original solemn judgment that we can activate at any time, I feel like is the right ratio, at least for now. This is very much still a beta version for the new ban list. But yeah, 2 of each. They're all good. They all have the requirements that can go off. But yeah, Divine Punishment's free if you have Sanctuary in the Sky. Ultimate Providence is free if you have Ariadne. And then Rebirth of Ariadne, all you need to have is a counter trap, which if you're turn 2 and beyond and you're recycling cards off of Minerva, that's actually pretty easy to do. So yeah, that's the pseudo solemn judgments. And then for a spicy tech, because it's a beautiful card, the 1 negate attack. It's actually the only negate attack I own, but big props to Brian Bernardi for hooking me up with this very beautiful parallel secret rare. It's a neat little tech card because it can protect your counter fairies on the board from attacks, and it being a card that you can recycle off Minerva too means that your opponent will have a hard time getting over it in battle, which can be kind of annoying. So I feel like 1, maybe 2 in the main deck's a decent tech to go with if you want to try it out. But again, only the 1 because I only have the 1 parallel secret rare. If I had 2, I'd probably be playing 2 because it's just that gorgeous.
And it's a counter for more draws.
Yeah, that's why I play it over, say, Stormy Mirror Force, because Stormy Mirror Force doesn't give you draws.
Sad.
So for the Solemn lineup, the Solemn Pentagon, as I like to call it, the free Solemn Strike, 1 Solemn Warning, and then finally the 1 Solemn Judgment, what we all came here for. Oh my god. I am so happy this card is back.
Me too.
So I've talked so much with counter fairies, with Ariadne being a card. Oh hey, that's a free Solemn Judgment. Oh hey, that's a free Solemn Judgment. Actual Solemn Judgment.
And it's still, if you have the thing, free.
It's insane. So yeah, the 5 Solemns, standard for any counter fairy list, any list that really plays traps in general, to be honest. So that's a 40 card main deck. For the side, we have the 1 barrier statue for going first, good combination with Ties of the Brethren. We have a lot of going second cards, the 3 Kaijus and the 1 Slumber, 1 Dark Hole and 1 Regeki, the 3 Cosmic Cyclones for general back row removal and hate against True Dracos, because that's actually the next worst matchup. The fact that the spells and traps activate in Grave is really annoying because you can't do a whole lot to negate those. So yeah, Cosmic Cyclones, kind of there for that, there for Pendulum Magicians, etc. 2 Curse of the Forbidden Spell, really good going first against Pendulum Magicians or any other spell-heavy deck. And then the 3 Dimensional Barrier, really good going first against Pendulum Magicians because they'll try to side in Cosmic Cyclones, Twin Twisters, etc. And this is a card that you can easily chain to that to essentially end their turn, which is really good.
Now, question here.
Yes.
The Raigeki. Why side instead of main?
Because it's a brick card going first. You want to win the die roll in game 1 and go first, and you want the most consistency you can. You don't want to draw any brick inconsistency cards with this deck because the deck essentially needs a monster on board, some decent setup, and 2 or 3 counter traps. It's really hard to actually pull off, especially in the fast-paced game we have now. So the most you can do to get yourself there, consistency-wise, is what you need to go for. You can't go too far away from that, or else it'll just be really breaking and really inconsistent. I mean, yeah, going second when you need to out big boards, sure. But that's also a reason why I don't play hand traps, because hand traps are just 1 less card you're getting rid of out your hand to possibly stop your opponent's board. But a lot of decks nowadays can play through 1 or 2 hand traps and not have a problem. So it's kind of hard to really fit in hand traps, especially with Demise.
Is the Raigeki something over time you might consider putting into main? The way, after we see what the meta is going to do and everything kind of settles down?
Probably not, to be honest. I mean, that's just kind of the way the deck plays. I mean, I'm always up for testing things and considering things, but I think on the side is where it best fits because you don't want to have a dead card if you want to die roll, basically. That's
Fair.
what it comes down to. And then the extra deck's really irrelevant. I'll mostly just show off that I finally have the Avenging Knight Parshaft common. If I had to, I'd probably play a second one because the extra deck's pretty free on space. But other than that, you can play like a couple links and just generic rank 4s from there. Stuff you don't really go into that often other than this off the counter trap. So that's it for this updated deck profile, my counter fairies. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and do be looking forward to some more updated and even some brand new deck profiles for the new ban list coming out soon. There's a lot of ideas rolling in my head now with this new ban list because there's so many new cards we have to play around with. It's a fresh meta too, which is really relieving considering how long we've had to deal with, Tier 0 Zoo and Tier 0 Spiral. So
Thank God those things are gone.
So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun here in the near future on this channel. So look forward to that. Again, thank you to Jake from State Farm for recording behind the camera, and we'll catch you guys next time.